Green interwebs, it's Jack and Kate. This is a little different. I don't really know what to welcome you all to, because this video is just me doing something that I was pretty well delayed on doing, and just rambling my thoughts and feelings on the Nintendo Direct. I was gonna do that in this month's Game and Chill, but some technical issues literally cut off my mic in the middle of me talking about the Pokemon Presents. Did I call it the Pokemon Direct? I guess it's fine to say because it's the same thing in spirit, but it is a Pokemon Present. I should go with that. I should be calling it that. It's even got the nice alliteration. But welcome. This is probably what you're going to be hearing for the next 10 minutes or so. I'll try to abridge my thoughts, but the tangents are going to be inevitable. Especially because unlike pretty much everyone else I've seen online talking about this, there's more I want to talk about than the big new game that they released at the end, because I was actually pretty impressed by this Presents overall. Yes, even the mobile game stuff. Let's just hop into it so I can explain my reasoning. So, in the past, for some reason, they would always spend the Presents recapping news from the mobile games that have already been announced. I can't speak for all of them because I really only follow Pokemon Go, but I haven't been too impressed by the Pokemon Go news in the past because usually Niantic or someone already announces it in-game or on their social media before the present even happens, kind of making the news redundant. And there's already a solid demographic of the Pokemon fanbase that are indifferent at best to news on the mobile games, so it doesn't really do too much good to actually have mobile game news if you're just going to announce it before the presents anyways. So I think I even remember saying on Blue Sky that the only thing I want from the present is if they're going to bring up mobile game news, to actually make it new news. And as far as I can tell, they actually did it. They actually saved the mobile events made for Pokemon Day for the Pokemon Presents. I'm pretty sure that's a first. And that's especially helped by the fact that I thought that the news was actually pretty good. The thing in Pokemon Go wasn't exactly exciting for me in particular, but it was new news for Pokemon Go, which is impressive in of itself. And the fact that it was tying into the new anime that's showing around is pretty cool. There's nothing with the Pokemon popping up for the event or anything that makes me excited, but it is more interesting than the game when there is no events going on, which is kind of a low bar with how many events are going on, but still. There's another Pokemon Go event where they tie in the anime by like having anime characters pop up for the photo bombing, and that's pretty neat. And I did go out for a walk a little earlier today, and I took advantage of the fact that all the Paldea starters were appearing more frequently to stock up on Fuecoco. I've actually seen way more of this evolved form in Pokemon Go PvP than I was expecting. Usually a starter doesn't become quote-unquote meta relevant to Pokemon Go until Community Day and it gets like Blast Burn, Frenzy Plant, or Hydro Cannon. So, from the little bits I've seen, that did caught my eye, to the point that I am trying to make more of a conscious effort to catch every Fuecoco that I see, just to ensure that when the day comes when I actually want to evolve it, that I'll have all the resources I need to power it up and use it. Plus I like Green Cat, Spirit Teal, I believe. I know I'm not even pronouncing it right, but I'm not even gonna try. That's way too much for my tongue. There's feels like it's kind of feels like the equivalent of trying to roll your R's, trying to say the name, and I don't think I'm hydrated enough to do that. Plus it doesn't really matter if the Pokemon Go event is exciting or not for me, because honestly between the two mobile games I'm actually more excited about Pokemon Sleep these days. Hear me out. I know it's weird to be excited about a game that revolves around sleeping, but I've gotten real invested into like min-maxing the recipe and the cooking in that game for some reason. I don't know, it's just like appeals to just the right portion of my brain to really get me interested in trying to make all the recipes and be as efficient with it as possible. Which is great that the Pokemon Sleep news was probably the most exciting thing from the Presents. Hot take, I know. Don't get me wrong, I'm happy about the announcement they made at the end, but I'm pretty excited about this Pokemon Sleep event. Way more than I have any right to be, I know. And I'll come back to the thought of which I actually think was the better announcement. But hear me out and try to put your head from the perspective of someone that actually enjoys Pokemon Sleep. So, with the way it works, you befriend different Pokemon that give you different abilities to help get your point score up so you can find even better Pokemon. But they've never put a legendary Pokemon into the game. Until now. And they're leading it off with one of my favorite legendary Pokemon. I don't think they could make an event in Pokemon Sleep that appeals to me personally more than this does, if they try. In fact, just the other day they released the full details of the new Pokemon Sleep event in Pokemon Sleep. So why don't they take advantage of the fact that I'm so late to the game when it comes to talking about Pokemon Present, and actually present some information that wasn't in the present itself. Man, I'm just full of ways to twist tie my tongue and all that. So, it's a little vague, but from what I've gathered from the event, starting March 25th and going to April 8th, when you go to bed, sometimes you're going to get these pieces of Raikou's mane. Hold on, let me finish reading it before everyone gets weirded out, including myself. But like, you collect Raikou's fluff, of all things considered, and depending on how much you collect, you can trade it in for incense to bring a Raikou to your little sleep area when you go to bed, and biscuits specifically made for Raikou to actually help you catch it. The latter especially is an interesting revelation, because I was wondering how that was going to work, if we were going to just need to save up our sleep points and buy the Master Biscuit in order to get it, but no, it seems like they're making special... Sorry, I just realized that people who don't already follow Pokemon Sleep have gotten completely lost. Let me try to summarize real quickly. So, essentially when you go to bed at night, you get ranked based on how well you sleep. You get sleep points based on how many hours you slept, and the better your sleep is at night, in combination with how happy the Snorlax you've been raising, which is why cooking and recipes are actually relevant for a game about sleep. All that comes together to get a sleep score, and depending on how high that is, depends on how rare the sleep style, how rare the Pokemon that you come across when you wake up in the morning are, and if they do any sort of special sleep styles, which is a whole other thing that I don't have time to get into. Biscuits are essentially this game's equivalent of Pokeballs. When the Pokemon wake up with you in the morning, you can feed them little biscuits as a treat, and when you feed enough of them, or when you feed biscuits to enough of them, they'll join you as permanent party members. So I guess super rare Pokemon like frickin' Kangaskhan takes so many biscuits that unless you use a Master Treat, which is pretty much the equivalent of a Master Ball, it'll take several visits. You have to find it multiple times before it joins you for permanently. Now I assume that Legendary is going to be just as rare, if not rarer, but I guess to compensate for the fact that not everyone's going to have sleep points stocked up and saved for a Master Ball, they're making special biscuits specifically to appeal to Raikou, so I assume it wouldn't take as many times of seeing it before you can get Raikou to join you. I'm sorry if some people are still confused, but this was supposed to be a short video and I've already am at 10 minutes. And I'm pretty sure I've talked to the majority of that was talking about Pokemon Sleep. It's a surprisingly fun app. Like, I can understand if you don't want to leave your phone out at night. If you don't mind putting in the money for like the Pokeball Plus, that actually makes things a lot easier because you don't even have to have your phone on in order to use it. It is more expensive than I feel that it's worth, but I got it as a Christmas present, and it's honestly been like one of the better Christmas presents I've gotten in the past couple of years. I've been getting a lot of mileage out of it, and if I went back in time and told myself how useful the Plus has been, especially for Pokemon Sleep, I might have actually been a little incentivized to actually get it myself. Like, you get your mileage out of it if you play Pokemon Sleep. If you just play Pokemon Go and only really care about Pokemon Go, the Plus Plus doesn't have as much value, and it's probably not worth the money. But if you play Pokemon Go and Sleep significantly, I say you get your mileage out of it pretty quickly, because not only does the sleeping you do in Sleep give you little bonuses in Pokemon Go, doing stuff in Pokemon Go actually gives you little bonuses for Pokemon Sleep. I'm getting off tangent again. The Raikou event. I think that's just the main thing. Like, Raikou's gonna join you for bed at times, and you collect fluff during the event to help you find Raikou, either through incense or biscuits specifically made for Raikou. That's the main thing. There's other things that this goes over, but I'm pretty sure only the Pokemon Sleep fans are gonna care about it, like electric Pokemon be particularly helpful. So, like, long story short, if you have electric Pokemon on the little party you make up for your Pokemon Sleep team, I assume it'll be easier to build up your Sleep rank, which should in turn make it easier to find Raikou. And there's stuff in the shop, because it's a free-to-play game. Of course there'll be stuff in the shop specifically for the event. Yeah, the Raikou biscuits seem to boost it up by 6, which is a significantly big deal, because you do get like one special biscuit every day that gives you like 3 friendship points to a Pokemon, and this Raikou biscuit is double of that. And yeah, I guess the only thing I haven't really mentioned is that you apparently have to play in Green Grass Isle in order for the event to trigger, which is the first area of the game, so that's all good in itself. Wow, I spent way too long talking about Pokemon Sleep. Long story short, I enjoy Pokemon Sleep. They made an event revolving around one of my favorite legendaries of the event, so Present's already off to a great start just from that alone. And that's only scratching the surface of how I feel like this Present was made for me in particular. Like, the only thing that I'm kind of meh to were news on mobile games I don't play, and the Pokemon Go event, which isn't bad, but just didn't appeal to me personally. Because, like, I don't know how many people are actually looking forward to it, because there is already a TGC app, but I actually like the Pocket app that they introduced. Like, so let's get into that before I spend forever rambling. From what I could gather from the trailer, Pokemon Pocket looks like a mobile app where you pretty much open up Pokemon cards and look at them, which is no lie in of itself, but considering I recently got into the Pokemon card games, like, maybe like the past year or two ago, and I don't play the TGC, I just like collecting cards of Pokemon that I like, this app in particular seems made for me. Like, the fact that they're giving 2 packs a day, like, heck, I don't even open 1 pack of normal Pokemon cards a day. I spread it out pretty far, so 2 virtual cards packs a day seems more than plenty to keep me interested in something like this. And of course, the immersive Pokemon card thing that they have as the main selling point of the presentation for this, that was pretty cool in and of itself. I wonder how rare those are gonna be, but regardless, I feel like I'm gonna be happy collecting these regardless. Because yes, there is a TGC app already, but it's definitely way more battle focused. There isn't even a good... One of my biggest complaints about it is that I have zero interest in actually playing the game, and there's not really a good way to look at your cards once you get them, unless you're organizing a deck, and that just feels real counterproductive. So I feel like as soon... It's kind of sad to say with how many like virtual card codes from my IRL packs that I've already used, but I might just delete the initial TGC pack once this new Pocket Edition comes out, because this app feels way more like what I actually want out of a virtual trading card game app than the actual TGC app. The only big question I have is, are the digital codes you get from real trading cards going to be applicable to this Pocket Edition? Because if that's the case, then I'm sorry Pokemon Company, but I'm never going to put any money into this app. I have so many virtual cards, or the codes of virtual cards to still use, and I would much rather invest those codes into an app where I can actually see the cards, rather than some app that I can like collect them and see what I get the first time I open it, and then it's just gone in the void. Unless I jump for like 5 different hurdles just to see the cards that I've collected. But I don't think like Pokemon Company's really gonna miss my quote-unquote money, because they're already getting plenty of it from the cards that I do buy. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to hearing more information about this app in particular. Specifically the question I have about how compatible will it be with other TGC related things out there, like the real cards, or even the TGC app that's already out there. Last but certainly not least, especially for all of you watching this video, is the actual new game that they released. I'll be honest, I was going into this kind of with the hopes that they wouldn't reveal any game. Not because I don't want there to be a new Pokemon game, but I think it's a general consensus of the Pokemon community that we don't mind waiting for a new game if it means you put more time into polishing your final product. Plus, I watched a video recently that summarized previous Pokemon Presents, and they don't have to. There is a strong incentive to do something tying back to the core Pokemon series for like the big show end presentation, but not every single main series game thing gets revealed in the Pokemon Direct or Pokemon Presents, as I so learned. So I had a little hope that like Game Freak was just gonna take their time and just announce a new game when it was ready, but what we did end up getting was probably the next best thing. It's a little late to bring it up, but my main wish list, at least a realistic wish list for the Pokemon Present, was some new mobile game news of Pokemon Go and Sleep, which I got and was happy with. More details on that new trading card game set that was released, or at least announced in Japan. I just saw that it had a picture of Bloodbloom Ursaluna, and that really gave me hopes that they were going to go back into making cards of Hisui Pokemon and or people, because honestly, like, I'm not a traditional trading card game collector. I don't go for every series. I only go for ones that really revolve around Pokemon I'm interested in. To give you a little example of what sorts of things catch my interest, the main series that I'm collecting right now are Astral Radiance, the Scarlet and Violet 151, and I dabbled a little bit in Paldea Fates. That one's more just because I'm a sucker for shiny Pokemon, and this is the first set revolving around shiny Pokemon that's come out since I actually got back into collecting Pokemon cards. I say back into, but it wasn't really something I've touched since I was a kid. Oh, I got so off tangent again that I forgot to mention that I was expecting my wish list for the closer of the event was something Pokemon related, but not tying to a core series game. I didn't have too many solid ideas of what it would be, but the most realistic on the wish list was Virtual Console release for the first 3 generations of Pokemon. And the far end of the list was crazy things that I know will never happen, like a remake of Pokemon XD Gale Darkness. Literally that unicorn meme where where the Virtual Console games are asking Santa for a unicorn for Christmas, and then Santa going, try asking for something more realistic, and then I bring up the Pokemon XD remake and he goes, what color do you want in your unicorn? But hey, if we go in with the assumption that Pokemon Z through A will be good games, then that's actually better than anything I was wishing for. Cause the only reason I'm not more excited about this is because we don't know anything about it. Or at least we don't know anything about the gameplay. We do know that it's taking place in Kalos. We do know that it's a Legends game. And with the way they tease Mega Evolutions at the end, it seems like a safe assumption that Mega Evolutions will be tied into the game. Hopefully in the fact that we'll actually be able to use them. I don't want to fall into the trap of assuming that and that not actually being the case, but why else would you put the logo of the Mega Evolution at the very end of the trailer? As for my thoughts on ZA, based on how little that we know about it, as far as I'm concerned, as long as it plays similar enough to the original Pokemon Legends game, I'll be happy with it. Pokemon Legends Arceus I think is my favorite Pokemon game in the modern era. It's safe to say that it's my favorite Switch Pokemon game. So I'm more than down for more of that in a new region. cold on the new. That gives me different Pokemon to roam around the land and collect. That'll basically be the main factor in whether or not I actually buy it. Oh, and before I get too late for it, I did recognize the fact that they're actually waiting into 2025 to release it, and take your time making the game so that the game is great. I'm all for that. Even if it ends up being a situation where it's early 2025, like in January, I'll be fine with that. As you can probably see from the footage that I've been using for this video, I'm more than happy to keep on playing the original Legends Arceus until this new Legends game is ready. I'll admit, a bit of the skepticism on the internet has me a little worried, because yes, we don't know anything about it, and there's been some social posts that have mentioned that it's taking place all within Liminal City, which has me a little concerned, but it's also right within the miscommunication of social media that I wouldn't be surprised if that was a mistranslation or misunderstanding. And you know, as long as there's enough areas within the game itself to explore, things to do, Pokemon to catch, it doesn't really even matter to me if it's all within one city or not. If you take that city and somehow expand it to the same length and the same amount of areas as Legends Arceus, if not more so, then that factor doesn't even matter. The only reason I'm worried about it taking place all in one city is out of the concern of a lack of variety in locations to explore. But again, like, who knows? We don't know anything about this. They have not shown a single second of gameplay. But if they're not ready to show gameplay, then by all means take your time to make the game as good as it can be. Worst case scenario, I'll just keep playing the original Legends Arceus. I'm even hesitant to do the speculation of the starters. Mostly because everyone else on YouTube has already done it, but who's to say that we're even gonna get starters? Sorry, maybe I got a little carried away there, cause I guess if it's a Pokemon game, as long as there's Pokemon to battle, we're gonna get starters in some form, but I guess the point I was getting at there is we don't know how much. We're kind of assuming that this new Legends game will have a gameplay style similar to the previous Legends game, which for me is the best case scenario. But at the same time, this is only the second Legends game to ever be made, so Legends could be just their excuse to be more experimental, which has its own merits, its own ways of being good. But considering how much I love the original, is still a concern for me personally. As far as we know, Legends Z4A could be a building simulator. It could be Pokemon Happy Home Designer, but with cities. But heck, I wouldn't even mind if there was a city building element to this game, as long as you give me just a taste, just like some amount of the stuff that I liked about the original Pokemon Legends. That's all I need to be happy with this game. Also, the fact that it's not nearly as buggy as Scarlet and Violet would also be nice. I do miss the days where games were so simple that we didn't need to be worried about frame rate. Because even the original Pokemon Legends Arceus has room for improvement for the frame rate. Freaking 5 frames per second Gyarados flying in the air. That's just an example. It was stuff that never really bothered me because I enjoyed the games that much, but I guess that's a long tangential way to say I'd be happy as long as it's on the same quality as the original Legends Arceus, but there's definitely room to improve. Game Freak, I dare you to make this game so good that I can never go back to the original Pokemon Legends. Now that I spent all this time trying to curb everyone's expectation, why not jump head first into the speculation train? That's certainly not counterproductive. But there was a couple takes that I haven't actually seen online yet that I would like to actually get out there. One with the starters. Even though I was joking, we're not even guaranteed that there will be a starter trio. I think what would be cool and a nice throwback to the Kalos region is if they did the return of a double starter trio. For those of you who haven't played X and Y, initially you get the initial Kalos starters at the start of the game, but when you get to the first major town, to better properly introduce Mega Evolutions, you get a second choice of 3 Kanto starters. So X and Y is actually the one Pokemon game where you get 2 sets of starters. And I think that would be a fun Kalos throwback if they did something similar. It would allow them to keep the cool element of Legends Arceus of having a unique starter trio that's a mix mash of all the starters from previous generations. But then, once you actually get more into town and more familiar with people, whoever is in charge of your Pokedex of that region will let you choose between one of the 3 Kalos starters. I don't know, I just think that would be a really cool throwback. And I'm not even a fan of the Kalos region. I think I'm that one weird person who doesn't latch on to the Legends game for nostalgia. It helps. It's part of the reason why I was kind of excited about the speculation people were having about there being a black and white related Legends game, because for these past 2 Legends games, they picked the 2 regions that I'm the least nostalgic for, outside of like the Switch releases themselves. Because I think like Sinnoh as a region, there's a lot of cool elements to Generation 4, like the champion, physical special split, but as a region I tend to have the least fond memories of Sinnoh out of the 2D games. And then Kalos, for the longest time, Kalos was probably my least favorite region. So, as cool as it would be if there was a Legends game in a region that I was really nostalgic for, I'm still excited about this game taking place in Kalos, because like I said, Sinnoh wasn't exactly one of my favorite regions, but I love the Hisui region. So if they were able to do that with Sinnoh for a Legends game, I'm excited to see how they can change my mind and my heart on the Kalos region. I am so ready to fall in love with this game world that I previously had zero interest in. Mega Evolutions carried the Kalos region for me. So the fact that there's only room to go up from here only makes this game more exciting. I just really want to see enough gameplay to confirm my suspicions that it'll actually play like Legends Arceus and not just be Pokemon Happy Home Designer or something. I joke, but to some degree, the fact that we don't know anything about it keeps me from being as excited about it as I could possibly be. Wait, are we really almost at half an hour already? And that doesn't even include all the times I cut and try to re-record certain segments. I ain't the greatest talker. I do my best, and I try to make editing make it look as smoothly as possible. So I've probably been at this for an hour despite the length of this. This was supposed to be just a little warm-up I did before recording Pokemon XG, and I'm not sure if I'm even going to have time to do a proper recording session of that. But I was overdue to do this, so I'm glad I did it regardless. Hopefully people don't really mind too much of how late this is. I know like every one of your favorite YouTubers have probably already talked about the present and done all their speculation of CEA to death already. Hopefully just me, my different perspective, made the wait at least a little worth it. If you like what you heard here, check out the channel for some more stuff. I try to juggle Pokemon related stuff here with all the other retro Nintendo stuff that I do. So I think between Game & Chill, my playthrough of Pokemon XG, not to be confused with XD, that I'm doing, there'll be something for you to like here. But this has gone on long as it is, so I won't bore you with the whole ordeal of why you should do the things you do on YouTube channels. Instead, I'll just say, see y'all later. And if not, take care.